Good evening. For those of you in the audience who have not attended one of these hearings recently, let me review our normal procedure. Staff will introduce each item for consideration. If you'd like to speak, please fill out the speaker form located on the table in the lobby and indicate the item number and whether you are for or against the item, and please give the form to the clerk seated on my left. The applicant and supporters will be heard first. Those in opposition to the request will be heard next. Then the applicant may be given a chance for rebuttal. Comments should be restricted to pertinent information regarding the agenda item under discussion. If you're an individual, you will have 3 minutes for comments. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, you will have 6 minutes for comments. Speakers should move closer to the podium when their item is being presented by staff. Speakers should identify themselves clearly for the record by stating their name and address. Each speaker should be given respectful and courteous attention. The board may ask questions of speakers or staff members. Information such as pictures, site plans, letters, etc., presented at the public hearing will be kept as part of the public record. This is what they call a quasi-judicial hearing as well, and so we have to keep all evidence. So if you're going to show us something that is on your cell phone, we'd love to see it, but you have to promise to send a copy of it to the staff afterwards, or they have to keep your cell phone. I would then ask for a motion from the floor. Once the motion has been made and seconded, discussion will be closed to the floor. Following board discussion, a vote will be taken. During voting, board members who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in support of the motion. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 15 days, file an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners through the Planning and Development Division of the Development Services Department. Okay, we're ready for our first item.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Angie Gates. Item number 1, 1201 Pomelo Court is being continued to the May 22nd hearing for failure to post.
Okay.
So we'll move on to item number 2. Item number 2 is a request for 1, a side street south setback variance from 25 feet to 10 feet for a fence, and 2, a side street south setback variance from 25 feet to 15 feet for a detached garage in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the Druid Hills Estates First Edition subdivision located at 1090 Druid Drive. The proposed detached garage will be 800 square feet and will encroach 10 feet into the required side street south setback. The subject property is a corner lot and considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Druid Drive, and the Druid Drive side is where the variance is being sought. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. The proposed privacy fence is 10 feet from the edge of pavement, and there isn't a sidewalk in place at this time. 2 letters of support were submitted today from the adjacent neighbors, and the clerk put them on the stand for you, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property. This concludes my presentation.
Do you know if there's any sidewalks proposed in that area?
I don't know.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff?
Looks like this is kind of jurisdictional, going off some of the south and north of, between Orange, Maitland, Longwood, not Longwood, I'm sorry, but Seminole. Staff is accurate that there's different sides of that house is different jurisdictional.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
The southern side is Orange County.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes, she is.
Is there anything you would like to add to staff comments? You have to come up to the front. It's recorded, they can't hear you back there. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Catherine Hyde, and I live at 1090 Druid Drive. And I don't really have any comments. I guess if you're inclined to, vote in favor, if you have any questions, I'm available for that.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir, Mr. Hathaway.
Ms. Height, the 2 letters that we received
Yes.
from the Dunn family and Mr. Tilley, where are their properties relative to yours?
Exactly, and I wanted to be able to describe to you. So Druid Drive is the front of my property, and that is in Seminole County. And then Druid Road is to the south, and Druid Road is in Orange County. So my property is very uniquely situated because it's right on the border of Orange County. So my neighbors who provided the letters of support, one is the 440 Stonewood Lane, which is actually in Altamont Springs. And the other one is the neighbor that's across from Druid Road, directly south of my property. So they're the ones that I believe are the most directly impacted by it, because the fence would be coming south, and that's basically it. And then the proposed garage as well. And they both are, fine with it. All my neighbors, because I walk my dogs in the neighborhood, they're always like, we hope you get it. So, I mean, that's not obviously evidence, but that's
Sure it is.
my experience.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just one question. The building itself, the proposed garage, looks like on the map it's about proposed 20 feet off the existing house. Is there anything particular about that distance, why we have to go into the easement and the setback requirements?
If you look at my house, how it's situated on the property, I have a very small backyard. My house is very long, but it's very narrow. So and right now I have a courtyard in that area, and so I would like to expand the courtyard, so in between the, put a pergola up, so it just really increases the livable outdoor area, the more that I can move the garage towards the south, because that's really the only usable part of my entire backyard.
And the reason I'm asking that is obviously, nothing's showing on here as far as how you get into the garage, but if you were going to put a driveway and came straight out to the road, you're going to be into the curve of the road to where people turn, not necessarily
Correct.
away from the intersection.
There will be, we're motorcycle enthusiasts, so it's basically to put motorcycles and things in there, and for like a hobby workshop. It's not going to house cars. That's not the intention. There is, on where Druid Road is there, my neighbor to the south, the one that provided a letter, he has a small apron because he has a pool on, to the back of his backyard that I know I'm saying all this stuff, so it's hard to conceptualize, but as you go south, his backyard is there and he has a pool there. So he has like an apron there. So there is actually, I guess a precedent for having a little driveway there, but I hadn't really planned on that. I planned to have a privacy fence there for aesthetics and security purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you decide to try to put a driveway, and make sure you talk to the county, there are very specific requirements on where they're allowed to be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve, a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck to you. All right, next item.
Item number 3 is a request for a side street south setback variance from 20 feet to 13 feet for a fence in the PD Plan Development District and the Deer Run subdivision located at 358 Glen Holly Court. The subject property is a corner lot considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Glen Holly Court. The Augusta Way side is where the variance is being sought. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility, and the proposed privacy fence will be 13 feet from the sidewalk and 17 feet from the edge of pavement. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Hi. Missed you last month.
Hi, guys.
Please state your name and address for the record.
It's Maria Arevalo with On the Line Fence, 18905 3rd Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32820. So this client actually has an existing fence that we're looking to replace. And this is the only access point. He has, you can see on the survey, he actually has a shed on the opposite side. There's no way to get a lawnmower on the opposite side. In addition, this is where his pool pump equipment is, which is one of the reasons we want to re-enclose that area. And we can't move the fence any further in because of the pool equipment, and it would go past the cage. So we are asking for the variance approval on this one. He also just had a young child, and he just had a baby, so he also wants to make sure that, you know, he has the proper coverage for his son. But
Did you play the baby card?
he just had a kid, so, you know, so he does have some concerns with trying to maximize his space, trying to cover that pool equipment, and pretty much really access for lawn maintenance, because there's none on the other side. There's no way to get a gate on the other side to get in there.
And you're just looking to put the fence where the old one is?
Yes, yeah, it's just replacement, correct.
How long has that fence been there, do you know?
A long time,
Long
like
time.
20-something years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for the applicant's representative? Yes, sir.
Couple, and my first one maybe is a little bit mischievous, but of the 6 criteria, when you mention pool equipment and other varieties of things that have happened, the second criteria states that special circumstances and conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant. So it sounds like kind of part of what you're using to justify the application is something the applicant has done. Am I, or am I wrong?
No, he actually just bought this house, so the existing fence has been there, so he
Okay.
kind of inherited the issue. He's just wanting, you know, we're just wanting to pretty much replace the fence and put it back where it's at, because it just makes the most sense to put a gate on that side, because there's there's no room to put a gate where they could have easy access for any type of maintenance, for their air conditioning, pool equipment, things of that nature. So we're not, he didn't create this problem. The fence was already there.
And 3 other questions, and I'll be quick, I
Sure.
promise. When I was looking at the sketch, it's looking like the fence, and maybe it's just because I'm looking at the blue highlighting and not what's drawn. Is the fence going to be parallel to the house or try and follow the property line?
No, it's going to be parallel to the house. It's inside. It's like where the little dotted line is. So it's going to run with the house. It's not going to, we're not trying to extend it out any further. His lot on that side, if you look, it kind of like narrows as you get closer to the front of the house, and it gets a little bit wider on the back. So there is a good amount of space between where the existing fence is and the sidewalk. And he does have a landscape buffer right there on that corner that covers the fence too. So like if you're driving from it, it's like one of those big elephant things, and that's going to remain there as well.
Gotcha. Last question. Have y'all spoken to the neighbors, and which ones, and what have they said?
We actually talked to the HOA, and they approved it, so the HOA has given approval, and he has spoken, according to our conversation, with both of his neighbors, and since they're not paying for the fence and they're not willing to throw anything, they're fine with whatever he does. They have no issues with it.
You say both neighbors, which ones?
If you're facing his house, the one to the right and the one to the back.
To the back? Gotcha.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant's representative? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck to you. All right, next item.
Item number 4 is a request for a height variance from 6.5 feet to 8 feet for a wall in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District located at 2770 Tuscaloosa Road. The replacement fence will exceed the maximum required 6.5 feet by 1.5 feet. 2 letters of support were received by both the directly affected neighbors. There was one prior variance approved in 2011 for a side yard north setback variance from 10 feet to 5 feet for a standalone charcoal grill and pizza oven. And this concludes my presentation.
All right. Any
What was-
questions for staff?
What was the date on that?
2008, for the pizza oven?
Yeah.
2011. it says.
2011.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
before your day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I don't smell pizza in the room.
Okay, is the applicant present? Hi, is there anything you'd like to add to staff comments?
Yes, please.
Please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Alan Prescott. I'm the homeowner at 2770 Tuscaloosa. My wife is here also. I'm sorry about the pizza oven. There was a prior owner. I don't know why it had to be so close. I still can't make a decent pizza. I'm trying to learn. I bought the house about a year ago with my wife, and the wall itself is about 1,000 feet long. And if you see from the shot, it goes all the way down to the road. That neighborhood was built after it. And then about 150 feet of the wall was collapsed. There's a temporary vinyl fence there right now. I'm just trying to rebuild the wall. There were a bunch of trees, and the trees had underwritten the wall and a little bit of the house, too. They were too big to be there. So we got the trees removed, and we've been trying to figure out how to rebuild the wall right now. Both of the neighbors on the side, John Cicerello on the lake side and Bill on the land side, they're both in strong support of it. In fact, it was the first thing Bill said to me when I moved in was, hey, I'd really love it if you'd consider rebuilding this wall instead of this temp wall. The way the land is, probably because my house was built 10 years before that neighborhood came in, is my house is set a little bit high, then my property is actually low, and then on the other side of the wall, they built it up. So they've got a lot of sight lines from that neighborhood street down that cul-de-sac, which just ends in my backyard, side yard. And they've got clear visibility into my pool, into my bedroom, into my kitchen. In fact, John on the water side, one day I was just talking to him over the fence, and he said, "I see your wife right there in the kitchen," you know, and that doesn't make me feel very comfortable, nor that my neighbor can see into my bedroom. So I filed with the application letters of support from both of those neighbors. We have no HOA, but they do. Their HOA is in strong support. In fact, I'm going to be using the access through the cul-de-sac to get access to remove that and rebuild it. It's a little unusual that they made a road that just literally ends at the wall. It's minimum setback to that wall from the cul-de-sac and then right into the yard. So we take car headlights and people peering over the wall into the property all the time. So we're just looking to rebuild and lift the height to try to minimize the sight line of direct visibility.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck to you. Get good with that pizza oven. I hate to think we issued the variance in vain.
Yeah, I understood there was an appeal from that too.
There was.
It's really about, you have to get it hot. That's the only thing I learned so far. Really hot. I'll bring the pizza once I figure out how to.
That's on the record.
All right,
As long as we compensate him for the sheer value of it.
all right.
Sunshine Law.
Next item.
Item number 5 is a request for 1, a side yard east setback variance from 7.5 feet to 5 feet, and 2, a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 15 feet for an ADU in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District in the Remington Park subdivision located at 2843 Chapelwood Court. The proposed ADU will be 441 square feet and will encroach 15 feet into the required rear yard setback and 2.5 feet into the required side yard east setback. Letters of support were received from 2 of the adjacent neighbors, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
my question, can you pull up the survey again, real? I'm just, my math is trying to figure out, the building shows it at 21 by 21. It looks like it starts at the screen enclosure and is adjacent to that rear wall. Looks like it's 24.2, but the building setback's 12-something feet. Where's the 5-foot come from?
That's what they gave me.
No, I understand.
I
I'm
don't
just,
know, you'd have to ask them.
Okay.
Because I don't know, I'm
all
sorry.
right.
I just go by the numbers they give me. And I know it's not, they're never to scale. As you can see, there's a 15-foot drainage easement, the dotted line.
Yep.
But clearly there's space in between the ADU and the 15-foot easement, so.
Yeah, what was throwing me,
But
it looked- I
it's
mean, it
not
looked like I
required
said,
to
it
be to
looks like
scale,
the back
so
of
I
the
don't-
building says 24.2, and the building's only 21 feet, so I was trying to figure out how it came
Right.
up with 5 feet if it's already 12 feet from the setback line.
Understood.
So,
Understand.
I'll ask. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening, could you come down, please? I know we have at least one question. Please state your name and address.
Christine Jacobson, 2843 Chapel Court in Oviedo.
Is there anything you would like to add to staff comments before our questions?
Just the reason for it is my parents were 85 years old. My mom passed away in August. My dad is currently living with my brother, but would like to spend time in both places, but he is getting to the point where he needs kind of, close proximity care. And so we just wanted to, make a room for him where he's comfortable and has a bathroom so that, he's comfortable and he can be close by family and we can take good care of him.
Okay.
Oh, and I was able to get an approval from the HOA too. That just came through, so I brought it with me.
Okay. Sir, your question?
Again, I'll repeat my question, is that I know the request has been for a 5-foot setback from the property line, but the numbers weren't working for me, so, because it looks like the back of that house is 24.2 roughly. It's best I can read on my map here, but, and that the building's only 21 feet, and you already have 12 feet to the property line. So I was trying to figure out where the math is that.
We were just trying to we weren't going to go any bigger than that. We're just trying to make sure that we have enough space. We've talked to an architect, we've talked to a builder, but we haven't locked anything in yet because that would incur costs. We were told to do this first to make sure that it was approved. My architect actually said, I'm not going to do anything until it is approved because, there would be a fee and cost there. So they just wanted we thought that was the biggest it would need to be for the side and the back setbacks. And so they felt like they could make what we were asking in that area. But I'd actually like for it to be a little bit smaller than that, just to kind of keep us, I'd like to align it with the back of the patio and the back of the house if we can, honestly, for just aesthetic reasons, to line it up with our already set patio for our pool and already the back of the house is what we'd like, but we won't know that till we get to that piece of it.
Okay. I was looking at the schematic, the architectural floor plan, and it basically falls within that 21 by 21 foot. And if we use the 5-foot dimension, it's actually going out to like 28 feet then. And that's why I was trying to validate whether or not we're in that. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have another question then.
Go ahead, sir.
Real quick. Based on what the applicant has said, that they're actually looking for truly a 5-foot, which means that they could increase the size of the structure that they're using. How does that play into our?
They just can't go any bigger. They can go smaller if they wanted to, but they just can't go any
So
bigger.
even if we
What's
give them the
requested.
5-foot, and they only still need 12,
We're not approving the structure, we're approving the setback.
understand, but we're approving the setback for something that's bigger than what's being shown in our package, because you don't need 5 feet.
So you have an option of amending it.
That's why I just want to make sure that, that,
They couldn't go larger than the 21 by 21 because it is approved to the site plan. So they would have to do the 21 or smaller, 21 by 21, and they would have to not be any bigger than the setbacks that are approved by you tonight. So if they're requesting the 5-foot side yard setback and you approve that, then they can't go to 4. They can go to 6 or 12 or whatever,
Sure.
and same for the rear. And they certainly can't encroach that drainage easement.
And again, I'm not trying to make this difficult, just the question I have is the current building, it looks like it's about 12-plus feet, from the current setback, and that what we're asking for is, in this case, graphically, a phantom building setback requirement, for 5 to 5 feet.
Right.
That's all.
Right. No, it's understandable.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I appreciate you've got letters of support from your two side neighbors.
Yes.
Have you spoken to the rear neighbors?
No, that's all fenced off. We just don't, since it's not going to be 2-story or anything like that, we just didn't think that that would be a problem. Sorry. And we know our site, like, we know everybody on our street really, really well. We just don't know the people on the other street, so,
I got you. Thank you.
yeah.
Is it a separate neighborhood?
No, it's the same neighborhood. It's just, I don't know, our Chapelwood Court is just a really great street. We know everybody, people walk dogs and all of that, when we just haven't, I guess, ventured out to the other side.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'll move to approve.
A motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 6 is a request for a side street west setback variance from 25 feet to 6 inches for a fence in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District in the Lost Creek subdivision located at 1252 Valley Creek Run. On October 24th, 2022, the Seminole County Board of Adjustment denied the applicant's request for a fence from 25 feet to 3.5 feet. The property is a corner lot and considered to have the 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Valley Creek Run, and the Maidenwood Way side is where the variance is being sought. The Lost Creek Homeowners Association approved the proposed fence location, and the existing privacy fence is 4 feet from the sidewalk and 11 feet at the closest point from the edge of pavement. A building code enforcement violation, code violation 22-92, was issued for the fence, resulting in a necessity of this variance. And this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Hi, please state your name and address for the record.
Maria Arevalo, on the line fence, 18905 3rd Avenue, Orlando 32820.
Okay, I have a question from you right from the get-go. I want to clarify this in my mind. They asked for a variance, we said no, then they built the fence?
No.
Okay,
I didn't
explain
even-
this to
This
me.
isn't even a fence that I built.
I didn't say you built it.
Yeah, no, I just want to clarify that from the beginning.
Because I know they asked for a variance, it was declined,
Yes.
didn't have a code enforcement valid.
Right,
so-
right. So apparently, from all the research that I've done for the past 4 months, that house originally had a wood fence,
Okay.
which was where the vinyl fence was placed. The client had no knowledge and felt like she was misled from the company that installed the fence because she already had the HOA approval, as if she did not need to take those extra steps. So she's, first-time home buyer, she's like, okay, well, I really don't know about this, you're gonna be fine. And so she applied for a variance when she got the code enforcement letter, and she was denied. Part of the reason that she was denied, because I was here the day that it happened, actually, was because she didn't have the survey was unclear. She didn't really know, honestly, I think she was just so nervous that she really didn't know how to explain all the obstacles that are in the yard. I actually did a site visit, and found several, things that her and I talked about, which is, I understood at that time, okay, this is why the fence was originally put where it was at, before this fence, because this is a replacement fence. So I actually have a couple documents that I want to show you guys.
Okay.
Can I give those to you? Oh, here you go.
And if you want, you can point at them and use this one for
I think I actually remember this one.
Or you want to point at it?
Oh, I was just going to give it to them so they can have, because one of them has 32 signatures on it. That one?
Remember this
Here,
one.
I'll pass that one.
Yeah. And then this one, they might want to look at it a little bit closer because the whole, I guess the whole confusion the day that she came was really having to do with the property lines and things like that. So the only reason that we ask for 6 inches, the majority of that fence is truly at 5.4 inches from the property line. And beyond that, there's another 3.4 inches that belongs to the HOA. So most of that fence in the middle of it, because it's so weird the way that the property line runs, is at about 8.8 inches. But because the closest point, which is that top corner that I have highlighted there where I put the X on the survey, that's really, it's literally one panel that's half an inch away from the property line. Okay? So I just kind of wanted to point that out. The other issue is that she has 2 big trees in the middle of the yard that the HOA is not going to allow for those to come down. There's nowhere to move that fence. The other thing also is if you look at her back neighbor, the majority of that backline fence belongs to the back neighbor. So she has like a small gap between where her property line ends and where the neighbor's fence ends. And if she wants privacy, she has no choice but to extend the fence because there's a 12 by 16 concrete pad right at that top corner. There's a retention wall that's around the pool for drainage. There's like no room on that side. So she wants to maintain the little bit of yard that she does have to, have her child play in that area safely. She's also at the very beginning of the subdivision, so any oncoming traffic goes right to her house. The other thing too, there's also a gas meter, which is a main line to a lot of those neighbors around her that feed those neighbors, that we also, she wanted covered for safety reasons, which I can't blame her because this is a lot where the kids are walking back and forth from school. I'm not saying they're going to do anything, but anything can happen. So she just wants to take all the precautions. But I did want to also note that she does have 32 signatures in support in the neighborhood because there's always been a fence there.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant's representative?
I remember this case.
You
and
remember it?
I do. And also I remember for different reasons why it was
Yeah.
denied. And it still went up. You had mentioned something about the gas lines.
Yes.
Gas lines is an easement thing. So she wants to enclose where the gas main is the feed?
It's it's close to her house. It's close to their house, so
How is a utility company supposed to get in the back then?
that's where the gate is at, because on the other side, she has pool equipment, she has her AC, she can barely fit a lawnmower, so the main gate is gonna go on that side. Because there are still some adjustments that we need to do for her. Part of it is on the back line. Part of the fence was installed at 0.6 inches outside of the property line, so we do need to correct that as well.
I was going to ask, isn't that interfering with the utility easement?
No. As long as there's a gate, you are allowed to have the utility boxes
No, I-
behind, yes. I've installed like 3,000
But,
fences.
no, I understand
Yeah.
that. But to enclose the gas main in that side right there, that's just a first for me.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but many houses have utilities behind, meters, gas lines, things like that.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
question?
No, go ahead.
Forgive me, I'm easily confused. The existing vinyl fence, you're saying it was erected where there was a wooden fence?
Correct.
Who erected the wooden fence?
I have no idea because it had been there for over
No,
20
no, no, no.
years.
Which property, did your client hire someone to erect that
No,
fence?
she actually just recently purchased a house also.
Who so
Go ahead, go ahead.
who erected the vinyl fence then?
She replaced.
The homeowner did?
Yes, the homeowner replaced with the vinyl fence, but there was already a fence in place that had been there from, what I understand, for 20 years probably. And it's on that letter that all the neighbors signed, because a lot of those neighbors are established and they've been living there for a long time.
And may I ask, the erection of the vinyl fence happened before or after the first variance application?
It was before the first variance application.
Okay.
And the original fence, from the research that I did, because I actually looked in the Seminole County portal, it did have a permit that was approved back in '05
For the original.
for the original wooden fence, correct?
And who approved well, I guess it's kind of blurry here as I zoom in on the exhibit you submitted. Is that a covered patio, is that saying? That top left image.
Oh, that was one of those like tents that you pop up, like a pop-up tent, and that has since been removed also. Yeah, that was already removed because she did get code violated on that, even if it was like a temporary thing.
Excuse me, could I get, I see our staff had I think had a comment to make on the issuance of the original
I
permit
need to
in
see
05.
the signatures. And
Bernard?
The exhibit, the stuff we passed around?
Oh, yep, hold on.
Yeah, those weren't for you to take home?
No, this stays with them. This is theirs.
Midnight reading.
When it gets to me, I put it in my folder and give it to them.
Okay, in my research,
Over here
there
now.
were no permits previously found for the fence. The pool screen enclosure was given traffic engineering approval for a side street setback variance, which they were allowed to do because of the zoning district. Let's see.
Do you want the permit number? Because I have it, the original one.
Yes.
Let me grab my phone.
Just go to the county website, you should be able to see it.
I won't be able to open it, the building permit, to look at it. Yeah.
You know what? My apologies. This one was for the first one. I apologize. That one was for the first variance. But there was a fence there, per that letter that the 32 homeowners in the neighborhood signed. The fence had been there for a long time. And I believe the first time that she came in, the picture of that fence was up, the original fence.
The fence may have been up, but I, in my records, couldn't find permits for any fence.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion? Yes, Mr. Hathaway.
Can we move to continue things?
Well, that's a motion.
I'd like to move to continue it, and here's why, is there's been some hearsay in here, there's been statements of a timeline, there's been statements of what exists on the ground, and I don't feel like anyone in this room is comfortable in saying any of those things happened definitely, and it just feels like, to give the applicant a fair chance, that perhaps we should continue this, let them research it, let her professional research it, get their ducks in a row to answer our questions, and then decide. So I move to continue.
We have a motion to continue. We have a second. Okay,
Or not?
or not. All right. Do we have a motion?
I move to disapprove, or to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Yes. It's my understanding that if a variance application is disapproved by our board, the proper protocol at that point, if the property owner wants to dispute, is to take it directly to the board, correct?
Right, they would
Okay.
file an appeal to the Board of County Commission.
Thank you. Was this done in this case?
No.
Okay. Therefore, what substantially has changed in this application from the previous one in October 2022? I see the number, the distance is 6 inches, but from what it was previously, but the fence hasn't moved, and the property owner is essentially asking for the fence to still be approved in its current location. So even though that number might be a little different, they're asking for the same thing. So is it proper protocol for the same variance application to be submitted over and over again if nothing has changed about the subject property or the structure in question?
Mr. County Attorney?
Is it proper protocol for it to be resubmitted? I think at least one error has been corrected, and so therefore it would seem appropriate to allow resubmittal. The change from 6 inches, I understand it's factually the same, but to hit on Mr. Hathaway's point, the facts do appear to be a bit nebulous here, and therefore they have the same avenue to go ahead and to do the appeal now if they believe that they have their facts squared away, because it does appear there may be at least one conflict between the facts as presented previously and the facts being presented now. But again, given the previous what Mr. Hathaway suggested, that maybe we don't have a good idea still of what the facts are.
Question then, back to the county attorney, Mr. Chair?
Sir?
If they appeal from us to the Board of County Commissioners, is it de novo, or are they limited to the facts at this hearing? It's de novo, okay. Thank you. From the audience, meaning they can start from scratch.
I know from previous appeals, they look at our, the county commissioners get our hearing results, but they still have their presentations.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion to deny. We have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. The motion carries. It's denied. They have 15 days to appeal decision to the Board of County Commissioners. All right, good luck to you. Must be your last one you're picking up. All right. All right, next item.
Good evening, Hillary Payton, Planning and Development. Item number 7 is a variance request for 401 Lakeshore Drive, located in the Greenwood Lakes subdivision. The request is for a side street setback reduction from 25 feet to 19 feet for a privacy fence in the Greenwood Lakes planned development. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Lakeshore Drive. The Glenwood Drive side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to replace an existing privacy fence with a 6-foot privacy fence in the same location, 19 feet from the side street property line, encroaching 6 feet into the side street setback. The proposed privacy fence is 19 feet from the sidewalk and 30 feet from the edge of pavement. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a utility easement, and that building permitting will be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Yes, sir?
As far as you know, was the existing fence properly erected, lawfully erected?
I'm not sure.
No evidence to think otherwise?
Right.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add to staff comments?
Not unless there are questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay, is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve. Second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 8 is a variance request for 3635 Leota Drive, located in the Placid Hills subdivision. The request is for a front yard setback reduction from 25 feet to 0 feet for a privacy fence in the R1AA zoning district. The request is to replace an existing privacy fence along the front property line, encroaching entirely into the front yard setback. The privacy fence is 17 feet from the edge of pavement and is without a sidewalk to encroach upon. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add, sir? Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay, is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, it's approved, good luck. All right, next item?
Item number 9 is a variance request for 2461 Worthington Road, located in the English Estates subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 30 feet to 21 feet for a screen room addition in the R1A zoning district. The request is to construct a 12-foot by 20-foot screen room addition on an existing slab 9 feet into the required 30-foot rear yard setback. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Yes. Is there anything you would like to add? If so, I need you to come to the front. You're not required to.
I prepare for this.
No problem. I don't want to rob you of your preparation. Please state your name and address.
Linda Shazo, 2461 Worthington Road, Maitland. And I just want to beg you, please, to approve this so we can use, get this green room so we can use it and enjoy our weather out here. And protect our doors.
Okay,
I know it's probably simple, but,
all right.
and if you have any questions.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
Mr. Schuster, have you chatted with your neighbors about this?
Yes. They also got the letters, and actually, they reached out to me. And the one in the back, who has a screen room, thumbs up. Hopefully, that will enjoy it better than the mosquitoes that come in. And then the two on the right and the left, and they said the same thing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And the HOA, because I didn't understand all this whole process, so I got a little educated.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
It
you.
never hurts to talk to your HOA. Our decision isn't controlled by them.
I know.
But if we say it's approved and then they decide to sue you because you put it up, you'll have a bad day.
And it was more for education because they have more experience of it, because most of the neighbors in our little subdivision have some variable of a screen patio, and I just wanted to know how they did it.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck to you, your preparation wasn't lost, see?
Good night.
I was nervous.
All right.
Chairman has an
Didn't
effect
show.
on people, so
Yes, I do.
it's intimidating.
All right, last item.
Item
no.
number
I know, it's a bald head.
I'm sorry,
Second
there's
to
two
last.
more.
Yeah.
Next item.
Item number 10 is two variance requests for 2355 Beverly Street located in the Kew Gardens subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 30 feet to 10 feet and a north side yard setback reduction from 10 feet to 5 feet for a detached garage in the R1AA zoning district. The request is to construct a 1,120 square foot detached garage 20 feet into the rear yard setback and 5 feet into the north side yard setback. A letter of support was received, sorry, I'm trying to do two things at one time, was received, signed by 3 of the surrounding neighbors. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add? Come on down. Please state your name and address.
Bradley Peterson, 2355 Beverly Street, Oviedo, Florida. Real quick, as you can see, there's already a building there. I bought this property in 2020, right before the COVID thing, and then I immediately deployed to the Middle East. Now that I'm home and I'm trying to remodel stuff and make the property look a lot nicer, I've come into issues that I want to make it look nicer, obviously, but supposedly that building had a permit approved for it, but it's in the wrong spot, and it's been like that since 2013. So now I'm trying to do the right thing. I need a bigger one because I have 2 big trucks, and soon to have a boat I would like to put away. We obviously don't have a garage, and then in that house we don't have attic space either, so this will also be for like all of my wife's decorations and crap that go in the attic.
All
So
of
I
her
can-
valuable stuff.
Valuable,
Yeah.
that's what I heard.
Yes.
Yeah, I need more room, and like I said, the people behind me have approved it. They said they don't care. Yep, directly behind me. To the north of me, they don't. And the 2 houses right in front of me, the 2300 and 2361, don't care. The 2300 didn't sign because he's retired and he goes and plays golf all the time, and he's not here. He hasn't been here for like 3 months, so. But I talked to him like a year ago, because I've been planning to do all this, and just researching it and then figuring out I had to come ask for a variance. But
Okay.
like I said, and if you look at it, there's a lot of stuff that was, like if you go to the satellite view, I have a easement in the back that you guys own. It's 5 foot from that white vinyl fence. And the previous people put that metal shed in that back right corner. I've already torn that down because obviously it's not in the right spot. And like I said, I'm trying to improve the property. And I just need a little bit more room on that north side. If I can just tuck it into the corner and away from the house a little bit, it'll give me enough to put that square footage building I need. And that's really it.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you for your service.
Which branch?
Army,
Oh, he's
What?
okay then.
He's okay.
13 years.
Wonderful.
What if he would have said Navy?
We might have had troubles.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
no good.
I still wouldn't have even said Navy if I would. Just kidding.
Anyway. All right, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request?
I told them to come, they didn't want to.
Anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries, it's approved.
Between all the naval people out there and your wife now, it's going to be interesting to watch this back on SGTV. So,
All right, thank you.
All right,
There are no Navy people.
now, last item.
Protect those Halloween decoration.
The Halloween decorations, yes.
That's right. Item number 11 is a variance request for 805 Francis Street, located in the San Leandro Springs subdivision. The request is for a side street setback reduction from 25 feet to 11.5 feet for a privacy fence in the R1 AA zoning district. The subject is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Francis Street. The Seminole Avenue side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to bring into compliance the construction of a wooden privacy fence encroaching 13.5 feet into the required side street setback. The privacy fence is 16.8 feet from the sidewalk and approximately 22 feet from the edge of pavement. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. A code enforcement violation, number 18-63, was issued for this structure, resulting in the necessity of this variance. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add? Yes. Come on down. We saved the best for last, you know.
Always.
The luck of the draw, isn't it? Hey, please state your name and address.
Melissa Scoffrey. My office address is 415 Montgomery Road, Unit 111, Altamont Springs, Florida. I also have Ms. Foreman. She is the homeowner, and her home address is the 805 Francis Street, which is in question for this evening. Just briefly, because I don't want to keep you guys late tonight, the fence that's in question has always been on this property. She's owned the property since 1998, and she's been on the property. The fence has always been on the property. The only thing that's recently happened was due to our wonderful hurricanes in 2018, there was some damage to the fence, specifically 6 panels on the fence. And so she was unfortunately inclined to move forward to repair the fence, which she's done, and she understands now that she had to go through the process through the Seminole County to make sure that she does it properly, which is why she's retained this office, myself included, to assist her with that. So I just wanted to make that clear. If she was to remove the fence in its entirety, her master bedroom would be visible to a side of the street, which would be visible to the public. So I just wanted to add those comments as well.
Okay. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Ms. Hillary, based on, are you an attorney in Ms. Soto's firm?
Yes.
Okay. Based on what the applicant's attorney had mentioned, are we doing, is this before us because there was enough storm damage to make it no longer conforming? It's now a non-conforming use, or?
Any repairs to the fence would require a building permit, which at that time we would notice that the fence wasn't either permitted or in the wrong place. So yes, going forward, like that's the proper procedure would be for her to get the building permit and then ultimately the variance because it's not located in the right place.
Gotcha, thank you, ma'am. And Counselor, going back to you, just looking at the attachment from your office, you'd mentioned that the fence was installed incorrectly.
No.
Who installed it incorrectly?
She hired a handyman to come in after the storm. After the storm, there was insurance claim. Insurance claim moved forward, cut her a check. She hired a local handyman to come out. I believe it's my understanding that she attempted to come out to the county to solve it herself, but here I am.
I got you. You know, and being held to a different standard when there's a lawyer here. For example, in your 4th paragraph, you mentioned this would deprive her of her rights. Which rights are you referring to?
Specifically, paragraph 4 of the variance criteria.
Yes, ma'am, that your office wrote.
Let me take a look at it. Give me a second. Well, I think it would, it's my position that it would deprive her of her rights simply because of the fact that she was, first and foremost, the damage that was done, it wasn't done incorrectly due to something that she was replacing. She didn't come into the property to just simply replace the fence, right? This is something, the damage that was done was due to a natural disaster. So again, when she saw the damage, she went forward, she filed the claim, she did the best that she possibly could to address it. And so I do believe that the fact that it's not as if she was, I don't want to say that she's coming to the nuisance because there's really no nuisance, but it's the fact that the damage was done out of her own control is what I think I was trying to relay to the county.
I hear you, but what I'm looking at is you put in writing, this will deprive the applicant of her rights. Can you tell me which enumerated right would be deprived?
I think it would just be, I mean, going forward, it would be the fact that if fines or violations were placed onto the property, it could create an undue hardship for her. She's elderly. She has the ability to obviously try to resolve this on her own. But again, it goes back to the fact that this was a natural disaster that happened out of her complete control.
So is it your suggestion then that natural disasters in and of themselves are sufficient to create justifications for variance?
That would be my position, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? If there's anything you would like to add, ma'am, you're more than welcome to come up. But I have to have you at the microphone because it's recorded. Okay. Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, a second. For discussion, I will say this. I ride my bicycle past her house. I don't know her, but I ride my bike past her probably every other day, and I've never noticed the fence.
Did you look through the window?
No, I have not done that. There you go.
The panels were repaired.
It's not right up on the sidewalk, like some of them in that area are. That one's, I don't notice it, but anyway. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck to you, sorry you had all this trouble.
Thank you.
All right, there are no minutes this month, we will get them next month. All right, if there's nothing else for the good order, oh, yes, we'd see.
I have an additional item, and I would like to ask the board if we can schedule an appeal of a planning manager at the next Board of Adjustment hearing.
Why not?
Cool. Something new.
Absolutely.
So basically, would you guys like Mary to come?
Sure.
What was it asked for? I didn't.
In our code, we have a provision that somebody can appeal her decision, and it's heard by, those appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
But prior to scheduling it, we have to ask the Board of Adjustment, may I, Board of Adjustment, schedule an appeal to the planning
Gotcha.
the planning manager's decision
Do you need
at
a
your next
motion?
meeting?
Do you need a motion?
I would like to have a motion.
We have a motion to.
So moved.
We have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
There you go, unanimous.
I will let Mary know.
All right. This is actually the second time since I've been on the board this has come up.
Yes, it is.
Interesting.
Like once a decade, I guess.
Right, it is.
Can you share which project?
Yes, it is, the appeal is how she has interpreted how we determine a setback.
No, which project? Who's appealing her?
Oh, I have it right here.
No, if it's not handy, don't worry about it. We'll know soon enough.
No, next month.
So it's on a residential, oh my goodness gracious, now is not the time.
No, seriously, seriously, I don't mean to put you, I'm catching you flat-footed. No,
It
it's,
is located at 6037 Cecilia Drive, Apopka, Florida. And they did not agree with her determination that
who's the appellant?
the appellant, they are, the property, Burr Foreman is who they have. Douglas Gartlam is the attorney who's representing the client.
Cool, thank you, ma'am.
All right.
And all of this information will be brought to you as part of your agenda package. I will have all of the details.
All right. Y'all have a great night.
All right.
See you next time.
Thank you.
The only